This from the New York Times today. It was over the weekend. It was the New York Times Magazine. Nail salon workers in New York City face hazardous chemicals. I can't read the headline to you because when you print from the New York Times, I don't know if they know that this print function is all screwed up, but when you print from the New York Times, the headlines turn into gibberish. It looks like in English, and the subheads turn into Japanese and Korean gibberish. So, hey, anybody at NewYorkTimes.com, wake up. In any case, it talks about Mrs. Otavalo. She's a Ecuadorian immigrant, 39 years old, who is a nail stylist, right? A nail. I forget the word for the person who does nails. Manicurist, I guess. They talk about how she loves to talk about her 9-year-old boy, but she never spoke of another dreamed-for child, the one lost last year in a miscarriage that began while she was giving a customer a shoulder rub or shoulder massage. At the second table, they're just going down the row in this nail salon. At the second table was Monica Rocano, 30, who sometimes brought her daughter to visit, but clients had never met her 3-year-old son, Matthew. People thought Matthew was shy, but in fact, he has barely learned how to speak. He's 3 and can walk only with great difficulty. A chair down from Ms. Rocano was another quieter manicurist. In her idle moments, she surfed the internet on her phone, seeking something that might explain the miscarriage that she had last year, or the 4 other miscarriages that came before that. Now, again, quoting from the New York Times, and I'm sorry, I don't have the author's name on this either because it printed as gibberish. Some of the chemicals in nail products are known to cause cancer. Others have been linked to abnormal fetal development, miscarriages, and other harms to reproductive health. So you have to ask yourself the question, why is this stuff out there? Why is it that women are using things in the privacy of their own homes that can cause miscarriage and cancer? And why is it that workers who work with these chemicals for hours every day rather than just minutes are not protected? Back to the New York Times article. A number of studies have also found that cosmetologists, a group that includes manicurists, as well as hairdressers and makeup artists, have elevated rates of death from Hodgkin's disease, low birth weight babies, and of multiple myeloma, a form of cancer. And then they go on to note, the federal law that regulates cosmetic safeties, which is more than 75 years old, does not require companies to share safety information with the Food and Drug Administration. The law contains no provisions for the agency to evaluate the effects of the chemicals before they are put on the shelves. In other words, you and I are all the guinea pigs, which is exactly the way libertarians like it. Right? Libertarians say that the solution to things is not regulation, but litigation. That if somebody puts a harmful chemical out in the marketplace, and you're harmed by it, and you can demonstrate that, you should be able to sue, and those lawsuits will pile up to the point where the company will stop putting that kind of a product out because, hey, it's not profitable anymore because we get sued. Now, it sounds nice, but A, it assumes that everybody has the resources to sue, right? That everybody's some kind of upper middle class person or upper class person economically who has the money to go down to their favorite local lawyer and say, you know, here's 20 grand, please take my case. And that's not true. Number one. And number two, this is a crazy way to run, for a country to take care of itself. Now, in Europe, they've got the precautionary principle. You have to, before you can introduce a chemical that might be absorbed by humans, whether it's breathed or on their nails or in their, food or whatever, you have to demonstrate that it's safe. And then they allow it on the market. Here in the United States, you do not have to demonstrate safety. They take things off the market after a bunch of people have died. New York Times notes, industry lobbies have fought tougher monitoring requirements. Bill de Blasio just came out and said, okay, we're going to protect the manicurists in New York because that's where this story was done. But this is the stark difference. This is the hugely stark difference between the Reaganism libertarian theology of the so-called free marketplace and the reality of average people in the United States. And by the way, we can't use the word middle class apparently anymore. Another piece in the New York Times today about how none of the politicians, I'll get into that later on in the program, are using the phrase middle class because there isn't one anymore. Or at least people are nervous that they're not going to be in it. But anyway, off we go.